The morning sun cast long shadows across the new soul mining colony as Heian-Woo finished his shift in the deep excavation tunnels. The red dust of the alien world stuck to his work clothes, but he didn't mind. This place had become home over. The past 5 years, his wife Mi-young would be preparing breakfast in their small habitat dome, and his 8-year-old daughter Soo-jin would be getting ready for school. Life was simple here, peaceful. Far from the conflicts that sometimes troubled Earth, that peace shattered in an instant. The ground beneath his feet began to tremble. Not the familiar rumble of mining equipment, but something else, something wrong. Emergency sirens wailed across the colony as Heian-Woo looked up at the sky. What he saw made his blood freeze. Massive alien warships hung in the atmosphere like dark clouds of death. Their hulls were black as space itself, covered in strange symbols that seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. The ships were enormous, each one easily the size of a city block. Red lights blinked along their undersides like the eyes of predators. All colonists report to evacuation stations immediately, the colony's AI announced over the speakers. Is not a drill. Unknown hostile vessels have entered orbit. Heian-Woo ran toward the residential sector, his heart pounding. Around him, other colonists were doing the same. Children cried as parents carried them. The elderly struggled to keep up. Everyone was afraid, but no one understood what was happening. Then the first death ray struck. A beam of pure energy, bright as a star, lanced down from one of the alien ships. It hit the colony's main power plant, and the entire structure simply vanished, not destroyed, not exploded, just gone, as if it had never existed. Where the building had stood, only a perfectly circular crater remained, the edges still glowing with heat. Mi-young, Woo screamed into his communication device. Mi-young, can you hear me? Woo-young-woo, where are you? His wife's voice crackled. Through the static, Soo-jin is scared. These ships, ... What do they want? Another beam struck the school building, and another hit the medical center. The aliens weren't targeting military installations. They were destroying everything. Every building, every structure, every sign of human life. Heian-Woo reached his habitat dome just as Mi-young emerged with their daughter. Soo-jin was clutching her favorite stuffed animal, tears streaming down her face. Young's eyes were wide with terror, but she was trying to stay strong for their child. We need to get to the evacuation shuttles, Heian-Woo said, grabbing his family. Now, they ran through the streets as chaos erupted around them. The alien ships were methodically destroying the colony, section by section. Their weapons made no sound, just silent beams of death that erased everything they touched.
Oh.
The efficiency was terrifying. These aliens weren't interested in conquest or resources. They were exterminating humans like insects. Daddy, why are they hurting us? Soo-jin asked as they ran. Heian-Woo didn't have an answer. How could he explain something he didn't understand himself? They reached the evacuation zone just as the shuttles began launching.
Ow.
But there weren't enough ships for everyone. Families were being separated. Children were crying for parents who couldn't fit on the same shuttle. You and Soo-jin go first, Heian-Woo told his wife. I'll catch the next one. No. Mi-young grabbed his arm. We stay together. We're a family. That's when the death ray found them. The beam struck the shuttle Mi-young and Soo-jin were approaching. For a split second, Heian-Woo saw them both turn. To look at him, Mi-young's mouth was open, calling his name. Soo-jin was reaching out with her little hand. Then they were gone, both of them, just ... gone. Heian-Woo fell to his knees, screaming. Around him, the colony continued to burn. The aliens above showed no mercy, no hesitation. They were killing everyone, destroying everything, with the cold efficiency of machines. Through his tears, Heian-Woo managed to activate his long-range communicator. This is New Soul Colony, he whispered into the device. We're under attack. Unknown alien force. They're killing everyone. Please, if anyone can hear this, warn Earth. Tell them we're sorry we see. Oh, couldn't do more. The communicator crackled and went dead as another energy beam destroyed the transmission tower, light years away. Earth. Captain Du Young sat in his command chair aboard the battleship U.S. Vengeance. The massive warship hung in orbit around Earth, its crew of 300 preparing for routine patrol missions. Do Young was reviewing supply reports when his communications officer interrupted. "Captain, we're receiving a distress signal from the outer colonies." "It's not good, sir." Do Young listened to Hyenwa's final transmission, his face growing darker with each word. This wasn't the first such message they'd received. Over the past month, 6 human colonies had gone silent. No survivors, no wreckage, no explanation. Just silence. "Sir," his tactical officer Yunji said quietly, "long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures in the outer systems. Whatever's out there, it's big, and it's moving toward Earth." Do Young stood up, his jaw clenched. The Vengeance was humanity's most advanced warship, equipped with experimental weapons and AI systems that existed nowhere else in the fleet. But it was just one ship against an unknown enemy that had already destroyed multiple colonies. "Set course for the outer systems," he commanded. "It's time to find out what we're dealing with." As the Vengeance's engines roared to life, Do Young knew that humanity's survival might depend on what happened next. The enemy had shown no mercy to defenseless colonists. Now, they would face Earth's finest warship and her crew. The hunt was about to begin. The emergency session of Earth's Defense Council had been going on for 6 hours. Captain Do Young stood at the center of the massive holographic display, showing the locations of destroyed human colonies. Red dots marked where thriving settlements once existed. Now they were just empty space and cooling debris. "Gentlemen, we cannot wait any longer," Do Young said, his voice cutting through the heated arguments. "While we sit here debating more, people are dying." Admiral Harrison, the Council's senior member, shook his head. "Captain, you're talking about sending one ship against an unknown enemy. We need to mobilize the entire fleet, build our defenses, wait for reinforcements from the Mars shipyards." "Wait for what?" Do Young's frustration was obvious. "How many more colonies will we lose while we wait? How many more families like the one from New Seoul?" The hologram displayed the tactical analysis prepared by Lieutenant Yunji. Forward, her young face serious beyond her years. "Respected members of the Council, the data is clear. The enemy is destroying our colonies at a rate of 1 per week. If this pattern continues, they will reach Earth's inner defensive perimeter in exactly 6 months. 6 months, Do Young repeated. That's not enough time to build a fleet capable of stopping them, but it might be enough time for one ship to make a difference. General Martinez leaned forward. "Captain, what you're suggesting is suicide. One battleship against an entire alien empire, it's impossible, is it?" Do Young activated another section of the hologram. "The Vengeance isn't just any battleship. She's equipped with Aria, the most advanced artificial intelligence ever created. She has experimental cloaking technology that we reverse-engineered from that alien probe we found 3 years ago. She can go places and do things that no other ship in our fleet can do." Aria's voice filled the chamber, calm and precise. "Captain Do Young is correct. Analysis of the enemy's attack patterns shows they rely heavily on overwhelming firepower and predictable tactics. A single ship, operating with stealth and unpredictability, could disrupt their operations significantly." Admiral Harrison stood up. "Even if your ship could somehow survive an encounter with these aliens, what could you possibly accomplish? You can't fight an entire empire." "I can make them bleed," Do Young replied. "I can show them that humans don't just roll over and die. Can buy Earth time to prepare its defenses. Maybe, just maybe, I can find a weakness we can exploit." The debate continued for another hour, but Do Young could see he was losing. The Council was too afraid, too cautious. They wanted to hide behind Earth's orbital defenses and hope the enemy would somehow go away. That's when Youngji spoke up again. "Honorable Council members, I've been analyzing the enemy's communication patterns. They're not just destroying our colonies at random, they're testing us. Each attack is more sophisticated than the last. We're learning our weaknesses, our response times, our defensive capabilities." She highlighted several data points on the hologram. At their current rate of learning, when they finally reach Earth, they'll know exactly how to defeat our defenses. Our only advantage is that they don't know about the vengeance yet. They don't know what we're capable of. The girl is right, said Dr. Kim, the Council's chief scientist. Every day we wait, we lose our element of surprise. But Admiral Harrison was unmoved. I'm sorry, Captain. The decision is final. The vengeance will remain in Earth orbit until we can mount a proper defense. Du Young saluted stiffly. Understood, sir. But as he walked out of the council chamber, Yoonji could see the determination in his eyes. She had served under him for 3 years, and she knew that look. Captain Doyoung had made his decision, regardless of what the council said. 6 hours later, the Vengeance was preparing to depart Earth orbit. The ship's crew of 300 had been told they were going on a routine patrol mission. Senior officers knew the truth. Captain, Chief Engineer Saw Young reported from the engine room, all systems are green. The new cloaking device is functioning perfectly. Arya has run 17 different combat scenarios, and she's confident in our capabilities. What about the crew? Do-young asked. They trust you, sir, said Weapons Officer Jinho. When you tell them what we're really doing, they'll follow. You into hell if necessary? Do-young nodded. He would tell them the truth once they were beyond Earth's communication range. No point in giving the Defense Council a chance to stop them. As the Vengeance's engines powered up, Arya's voice filled the bridge. Captain, long-range sensors are detecting a massive energy signature approaching the Kepler system. It matches the profiles from the previous attacks. Another colony, Do-young said grimly, long until they reach Kepler station. 18 hours, sir. Do-young turned to his navigation officer. Plot a course for Kepler. Maximum speed. Sir. That will take us directly into enemy territory, exactly where we need to be. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, the Vector fleet moved like a plague of metal locusts. Their ships were massive, dark constructs that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Inside the flagship, Commander Zalthus reviewed the intelligence reports from his scouts. The humans have sent a single ship toward the Kepler system, his subordinate reported. It appears to be one of their military vessels. Zalthus barely looked up from his tactical display. One ship? How many humans are aboard? Approximately 300, Commander. 300 humans against our entire fleet. Zalthus made a sound that might have been laughter if his species were capable of humor. Are they surrendering? Unknown, Commander. The ship is maintaining course and speed. Zalthus finally gave the matter his full attention. In his 4 centuries of conquest, he had never encountered a species so foolish as to send a single ship against the Vector Empire. His forces had enslaved entire star systems, crushed civilizations that had stood for millennia, and reduced proud species to cowering servants. Perhaps they are trying to deliver a message, he mused. Or maybe they have some sort of diplomatic proposal. Should we prepare a response, Commander? Yes, Zalthus said, turning back to his displays. When they arrive, destroy them immediately. Make it quick and clean. I don't want to waste time on primitive theatrics. His subordinate bowed and left to carry out the orders. Zalthus returned to planning the assault on Kepler Station, already dismissing the human ship from his thoughts. It was, after all, just one small vessel against an empire that had conquered half the galaxy. He had no idea that this single ship would change everything. The Vengeance raced through hyperspace, her crew finally learning the truth about their mission. There were no complaints, no requests for transfer. When Captain Dwan explained what they were really doing, the entire crew volunteered to continue. They were going to war. The Vengeance dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Titan station system, her cloaking device immediately engaging. Captain Du-young stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display with growing horror. What they saw made even the hardened veterans of his crew gasp in shock. Titan Station, once home to 50,000 miners and their families, was gone. In its place floated a field of twisted metal and debris. The massive orbital platform that had processed rare minerals for Earth's industries was now just scattered, wreckage drifting in the void. My God, whispered Navigator Park Min-woo. They didn't just destroy it, they completely obliterated it. Captain Yunji reported from her tactical station, "I'm reading multiple alien vessels in the system. They're still here." Du Young's jaw tightened. On screen, the main display showed 6 Vector warships arranged in a loose formation around the debris field. Their black holes seemed to absorb the light from the nearby star, making them look like holes in space itself. What made Doyoung's blood boil was what the ships were doing. "They're hunting survivors," Soyoung said from the engineering station. Her voice filled with disgust. Small human escape pods were scattered throughout the debris field. Some were damaged, others were intact but running out of power. Ships were moving methodically from pod to pod using their tractor beams to capture them. "What are they doing with the survivors?" asked Jinho, the weapons specialist Arya's. His voice filled the bridge with cold analysis. "Captain, based on the energy signatures, they are not taking prisoners. They are eliminating survivors one by one." Door watched in horror as one of the alien ships pulled an escape pod into its docking bay. Moments later, the pod was ejected back into space. Now, just an empty shell. The Vector were systematically executing every human they found. "That's enough," Doyoung said, his voice deadly quiet. "Jinho, prepare all weapons. Sol Young, maximize power to engines and shields. Yunji, target the nearest alien ship." Sir Yunji hesitated. "There are 6 of them, and only one of us." "Are you sure about this?" Du Young looked at his crew, seeing the same anger and determination in their eyes that he felt in his heart. "Arya, what are our chances of success?" "Captain, CONVENTIONAL. Tactics give us a 12% chance of survival. However, if we utilize the element of surprise and unconventional attack patterns, I calculate our chances increase to 34%. "I'll take those odds," Doyoung said. "All hands, battle stations. We're going to show these aliens what happens when you mess with human families." The Vengeance moved silently through the debris field, her cloaking device keeping her invisible. To the alien sensors, Doyoung positioned his ship directly behind the largest Vector vessel, the one that seemed to be coordinating the survivor hunt. "Target their main reactor," he ordered. "Full power to forward weapons." Captain Soyoung called out, "I'm detecting another escape pod. It's badly damaged, but there are life signs. It's 2 adults and 1 child." Doyoung's heart clenched. Somewhere in that pod was a family, probably terrified and running out of air. Watching the aliens systematically murder their friends and neighbors, "Ginho, lock onto that pod with a tractor beam. Soon as we decloak, pull them to safety." "Ready, sir?" Doyoung took a deep breath. "Arya, engage all weapon systems. Decloak and fire." The Vengeance suddenly appeared behind the alien fleet, like a ghost materializing from the darkness. Her experimental weapons, charged with Earth's most advanced technology, unleashed devastating firepower. The first Vector ship never knew what hit it. The Vengeance's plasma cannons tore through, its hull like paper, causing massive explosions that lit up the void. "Direct hit," Jinho shouted. "Their main reactor is critical." The alien ship exploded in a brilliant flash, its debris scattering across the battlefield. The remaining 5 Vector vessels immediately turned to face this unexpected threat, their own weapons charging. Evasive maneuvers. Doyoung commanded. Soyoung pushed the Vengeance beyond its design limits, the ship dancing between the alien energy beams with impossible grace. The Vector had expected an easy slaughter, not a fight. Their formation broke apart as they tried to target the human ship. "Arya, analyze their weapon patterns," Doyoung ordered.
"Captain."
"Their firing sequences are highly predictable. They rely on overwhelming firepower rather than accuracy. I can calculate their targeting solutions and provide optimal evasion routes." "Do it." The Vengeance spun and rolled through space, dodging the alien death rays with movements that seemed almost alive. The ship's AI worked in perfect harmony with the human crew, combining artificial intelligence with human intuition in ways the aliens had never encountered. "Second target acquired," Ginho reported. Firing. Another Vector ship exploded as the Vengeance's missiles found their mark, but the aliens were adapting, coordinating their attacks to corner the human ship. "Captain, we've got the escape pod," Saw Young announced, bringing the survivors aboard now. "Shield strength at 60%, Yoonji reported. "We can't keep this up much longer." Du Young made a split-second decision. "Jinho, prepare a full spread of quantum torpedoes. Target their command. Ship, sir. That will drain our entire weapons array. Do it." The Vengeance launched everything she had at the largest Vector vessel. The alien ship's shields flared and collapsed under the assault, and the torpedoes punched through its hull. But instead of exploding, the ship began to retreat, along with the surviving members of its fleet. "They're running!" someone shouted. Dushang watched the alien ships disappear into hyperspace, leaving the battlefield to the humans. But the victory felt hollow. They had saved 3 lives, but 50,000 others were dead. Captain So Young called. "The survivors are in medical bay. The family. It's a man and his 2 children. His wife didn't make it." Du Young found the survivor, a man named Taemin, holding his 2 young children in the ship's medical bay. The man's eyes were empty, haunted by what he had witnessed. His children, a boy and a girl, clung to their father with the desperate grip of those who had lost everything. "They killed everyone," Taemin whispered. "My wife, my neighbors, everyone. They didn't even ask questions. They just ... killed them all." Du Young knelt beside the family. "I'm sorry we couldn't save more people. But I promise you this. We're going to make them pay for what they did." Meanwhile, aboard the fleeing Vector command ship, Commander Zulthus stared at the tactical reports with something approaching amazement. In 4 centuries of conquest, he had never encountered anything like what had just happened. He muttered to his subordinate. "One human ship destroyed 2 of our vessels and forced us to retreat. Commander, their technology appears more advanced than our intelligence indicated." "No," Zulthus said slowly. "Their technology is inferior to ours, but they fight differently. They fight with ... emotion, with fury. Our computers calculated. Their moves, but they didn't move like computers. They moved like something wild, something unpredictable." He turned to face his crew, sent a message to High Command. "Tell them the humans are not like the other species we have conquered. They don't surrender when faced with overwhelming odds. They fight harder." For the first time in his long career, Zulthus felt something he had never experienced before: uncertainty. The humans had drawn first blood, and they had fought like creatures possessed. This would not be the easy conquest he had anticipated. The war had truly begun. 3 weeks after the battle at Titan Station, the Vengeance had become the most hunted ship in the galaxy. The Vector Empire had deployed 12 hunter-killer squadrons, with a single mission: find and destroy. The human vessel that had embarrassed their forces, Captain Du Young stood in the ship's modified cargo bay, watching engineers Saw Young work her magic on a collection of salvaged alien technology. Sparks flew as she welded together pieces of Vector hull plating with human power cores, creating something that had never existed before. "Captain, this should give us a significant advantage," Saw Young said, wiping sweat from her forehead. "I've reverse-engineered their shield harmonics. My calculations are correct. Our new plasma rifles will cut through their armor like butter." "How many can you make?" Do Young asked. "Maybe 50, sir. Enough to arm our boarding parties, if we get the chance." Du Young nodded. Over the past weeks, Saw Young had become the ship's miracle worker, turning debris and scrap into deadly weapons. Her engineering crew had nicknamed her the Magician for her ability to create something from nothing. Captain Arya's voice interrupted. "Long-range sensors are detecting a Vector patrol squadron entering the Helix Nebula. They appear to be searching for us." Do Young smiled grimly. The Helix Nebula was perfect hunting ground, a massive cloud of gas and debris that would interfere with sensors and provide excellent cover. "Set course for the nebula. It's time to turn the hunters into the hunted." The Vengeance slipped into the colorful clouds of the nebula like a shark entering murky waters. The swirling gases painted the ship's hull in brilliant reds and blues, while electromagnetic storms played havoc with both human and alien sensors. "Contact," whispered Yunji from her tactical station. 3 Vector destroyers, moving in formation. Through the nebula's outer edge, Du Young studied the tactical display. The alien ships were moving in a predictable search pattern, their sensors sweeping methodically through the gas clouds. "They're hunting us like we're some kind of animal," he muttered. "Captain," said Communications Officer Li Wujin, "I'm intercepting their transmissions. They're calling us the Ghost Ship, apparently. Word is spreading throughout their empire about a human vessel that appears and disappears like a phantom." Doyoung felt a surge of satisfaction. Fear was a weapon. And if the Vector were afraid, that was good. "Jinho, prepare the new plasma cannons. Arya, plot an attack run that takes us through the densest part of the nebula." The Vengeance moved like a predator through the glowing clouds. The nebula's electromagnetic interference made it nearly impossible for the alien ships to detect them until it was too late. Doyoung waited until they were within striking distance of the first destroyer before giving the order to cloak and fire. The Vengeance erupted from the nebula like a creature from a nightmare, her weapons blazing. Doyoung's modified plasma cannons tore through the alien ship's shields as if they didn't exist. The destroyer exploded in a shower of sparks and debris, its hull cracking open like an eggshell. "One down," Jinho shouted. But the other two Vector ships were already responding, their weapons charging. Doyoung ordered evasive maneuvers, and the Vengeance danced through the nebulous gas streams. Using the natural formations as cover, they're trying to box us in, Yunji reported. "Two more squadrons are entering the nebula from different vectors." Doyoung's mind raced. They were outnumbered 8-1, but in the nebula numbers didn't matter as much as cunning. "Doyoung, can you create an electromagnetic pulse strong enough to disrupt their sensors?" "Give me 5 minutes, Captain." 5 minutes they might not have. The alien ships were closing in, their search patterns tightening like a noose around the Vengeance's position. That's when Wujin made his decision. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildup in the nebula's core. If I can overload our communications array and channel it through the nebula's natural electromagnetic field, I can create a pulse that will blind every ship in the area." "Do it," Doyoung ordered. "Sir, I'll have to manually override the safeties. Someone needs to stay at the communications station to maintain the field harmonics. The feedback will be lethal." The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what Wujin was volunteering to do. "Wujin, there has to be another way," Doyoung said. The young communications officer smiled sadly. "Captain, I've been thinking about what we're fighting for. It's not just Earth, is it? It's every human child who deserves to grow up free. My little sister back home, she's only 6 years old. She'd be able to play in the park without worrying about aliens in the sky." Wujin moved to his station, his hands flying over the controls. "If my sacrifice can help save her and all the other children, then it's worth it." Wujin, Doyoung started. "Captain, tell my family I died fighting for something that mattered. Tell them I wasn't afraid." The electromagnetic pulse erupted from the Vengeance like a wave of invisible fire, cascading through the nebula and striking every ship within 50,000 kilometers. The alien vessel's sensors went blind, their weapons systems crashed, and their navigation computers failed. At his station, Wujin convulsed as the energy feedback coursed through his body, but he held on, maintaining the pulse until every enemy ship was disabled. It was over, he collapsed to the deck, his body burned by the electrical discharge. Doyoung knelt beside him, but they both knew it was too late. Did we get them all?" Wujin whispered. "Yes," Doyoung said, his voice thick with emotion. "We got them all. Good." Wujin smiled weakly. "Tell my sister. Tell her the stars are safe now." He died holding his captain's hand, his last words a promise to a little girl he would never see again. The Vengeance destroyed the disabled alien ships one by one, then disappeared back into the nebula's depths. But word of the battle spread throughout the galaxy at the speed of light. On the slave world of Kepler-7, where the Vector had enslaved the peaceful alien species, the aliens whispered among themselves in their underground hiding places. "Did you hear?" one elder asked another. The ghost ship struck again. 8 Vector vessels destroyed in the Helix Nebula. "Is it true?" asked a younger alien. "Is there really a ship that can fight the Empire?" "They say it appears from nowhere, strikes like lightning, then vanishes like smoke. The Vector call it the Ghost Ship, but some say it's crewed by a species called humans. Humans. The young alien's eyes widened. Are they like us? No? Child, from what I've heard, they're different. They don't surrender when they're outnumbered. They don't give up when the odds are impossible. They fight with something the Vactor have never encountered before. What's that? The elder smiled for the first time in years. Similar conversations were happening on dozens of worlds throughout the galaxy. The Vactor Empire had ruled through fear for centuries, but now something new was stirring among their slaves. For the first time in generations, the oppressed species of the galaxy were beginning to believe that freedom might be possible. The ghost ship had become more than just a vessel. It had become a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope in the darkness of tyranny and in the depths of space. The Vengeance continued its deadly hunt. Carrying the dreams of a galaxy on its shoulders, Commander Zalthus stood in the command center of the World Ender, staring at the tactical display with barely contained fury. The massive dreadnought stretched for 20 kilometers in every direction, its hull bristling with enough weapons to crack a planet in half. This was the Vactor, Empire's ultimate expression of power, a ship so large it had its own gravity field. How many ships have we lost to this single human vessel? Zalthus asked his tactical officer. 47 vessels destroyed, Commander. 12 more severely damaged. The ghost ship has disrupted operations in 16 star systems. Zalthus clenched his fists. In his 4 centuries of service, he had never faced such humiliation. One human ship had made the entire Vactor Empire look weak. Worse, reports were coming in from across the galaxy of slave revolts. Inspired by stories of the mysterious vessel that could strike anywhere and disappear without a trace, the High Command is not pleased. His subordinate continued nervously. They're questioning your ability to handle a single enemy ship. Enough, Zalthus roared. Activate the World Ender's primary systems. I want every weapon online, every sensor array scanning the void. When we find this ghost ship, I will personally ensure its crew suffers before they die. The World Ender was more than just a ship. It was a mobile fortress, a weapon of mass destruction that the Vactor used to crush entire civilizations. Its main cannon could punch through a planet's crust, while its secondary batteries could vaporize anything smaller than a moon. Commander, the sensor officer reported, we're detecting the ghost ship's energy signature in the Kepler 442 system. Zalthus smiled coldly. Kepler 442b had been one of their first conquests in this sector, a beautiful world with blue oceans and green continents. The Vactor had tested their planet-killer weapon there, reducing it to a field of asteroids and debris. It was fitting that the human ship would die in the same place. Set course for Kepler 442, maximum speed. Meanwhile, the Vengeance hung in space among the floating ruins of what had once been a living world. Captain Doyoung stood on the bridge watching the debris of an entire planet drift past the viewscreen. Chunks of rock that had once been mountains, frozen fragments of ocean, the twisted remains of cities, all evidence of the Vactor's terrible power. Captain Soyoung reported from the engineering station. The ship's holding together, but we're running on fumes. The reactor's been pushed beyond its limits for weeks. We need a major overhaul. Doyoung nodded grimly. The Vengeance had been fighting a guerrilla war for months, striking fast and disappearing before the enemy could respond. But they couldn't run forever. Eventually the Vactor would corner them, and when that happened, they would need to be ready for the fight of their lives. Arya, status report, he ordered. Captain, our weapons are operating at 70% efficiency. The cloaking device is stable, but drawing enormous power. Hull integrity is at 85%. However, I must report that long-range sensors are detecting a massive energy signature approaching our position. How massive? Captain, the object is approximately 20 kilometers in length. Energy output suggests it's a super dreadnought-class vessel. I've never seen anything like it in the database. Doyoung felt his blood run cold. He had heard rumors of the Vactor's ultimate weapon, a ship so large it could destroy entire worlds. It seemed those rumors were true. All hands battle stations, he announced over the ship's intercom. This is not a drill. We're about to face the enemy's most powerful weapon. The World Ender dropped out of hyperspace like a falling mountain, its massive bulk blotting out the stars. The dreadnought's hull was black as space itself, covered in weapon ports and sensor arrays that glowed with malevolent energy.
Ata.
Gods, whispered Navigator Minwoo. It's enormous, Captain Yunji said, her voice shaking. That ship has enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Our weapons won't even scratch its hull. Dui Young stared at the tactical display, his mind racing. Conventional tactics were useless against such a massive target. But maybe, just maybe, there was another way. Arya scanned that ship's structure. Look for weaknesses, vulnerable points, anything we can exploit. Captain, preliminary scans indicate the dreadnought has a single point of vulnerability. Its main reactor is located in the central core, protected by multiple shield layers. However, if we could penetrate the shields and strike the reactor directly, what would happen? The resulting explosion would destroy the entire vessel, Captain. But the probability of success is extremely low, less than 1%. Doyoung looked around the bridge at his crew. These men and women had followed him across the galaxy, fighting impossible odds and winning through sheer determination. They had become legends, the crew of the ghost ship that defied an empire. So-young, can you overload our fusion reactors? Captain, if I remove all the safety protocols and push the reactors beyond their design limits, I can give you enough power for one massive attack, but the ship won't survive the strain. How long will it take? 5 minutes, sir. But Captain, once I start the process, there's no turning back. The reactors will explode whether we succeed or fail. Du Young turned to Yunji. Lieutenant, I want you to open a quantum communication channel to Earth. Send a message to your... Sister Yunji's eyes filled with tears. Captain, I don't know what to say. Tell her we fought with honor. Tell her we died for something that mattered. The young tactical officer activated the quantum communicator with trembling hands. Hi, Jin. If you're receiving this, I want you to know that I love you. I'm sorry I won't be coming home. We're about to attempt something impossible, but if we succeed, the galaxy will be free from the Vectoress tyranny. Her voice broke as she continued. Take care of Mom and Dad. Tell them I was proud to serve with Captain Du Young and the crew of the Vengeance. Tell them we didn't run when the odds were impossible. We fought because someone had to. The communication ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Arya, Du Young said quietly, calculate the attack run. I want to hit that dreadnought's reactor core with everything we have. Captain, the probability of success is... I don't care about the odds. Can you do it? Yes, Captain. I can plot a course that will take us through their defensive grid and deliver our payload directly to the reactor core. But we'll have to. Fly straight at them. No evasive maneuvers. Du Young nodded. Sui Young begin the reactor overload. Jin Ho, prepare all weapons for simultaneous firing. Everyone else, hold on tight. The Vengeance's engines roared to life, pushing the ship beyond its design limits. The reactor overload began, sending waves of energy through the ship's hull. Warning lights flashed red across every console. World Ender is targeting us, Yenji reported. They're charging their main cannon. Here we go, Doyoung said.
Area!
Take us in. The Vengeance accelerated toward the massive dreadnought, her engines blazing like twin stars. The ship shook violently as the overloaded reactors pushed her faster and faster. Behind them, the World Ender's weapons opened fire, filling space with deadly energy beams. Shield strength dropping rapidly, Saul Young reported. Hull breaches. On deck 7 and 12, stay on course, Doyoung commanded. The Vengeance charged straight at the World Ender like a missile aimed at the heart of the Empire. The massive dreadnought grew larger and larger on the view screen until it filled their entire field of view. Penetrating outer shield layer, Arya announced. Inner shields at 50% strength. Come on, Doyoung whispered. Come on. The ship shuddered as the dreadnought's point defense weapons found their mark, but the Vengeance kept coming, her overloaded reactors giving her the power to punch through the alien shields. Target in sight, Jinho reported. firing all weapons. The Vengeance unleashed everything she had: plasma cannons, quantum torpedoes, missile pods, and the experimental weapons So Young had built from salvaged alien technology. The combined firepower struck the World Ender's reactor core, just as the human ship's own reactors reached critical overload. For a moment, space itself seemed to hold its breath. Then the World Ender exploded in a chain reaction that lit up the entire system, taking the Vengeance with it in a blaze of glory that could be seen from 1,000 light-years away. The ghost ship was gone, but its legend would live forever. The explosion of the World Ender lit up the Kepler 442 system like a newborn star. The massive dreadnought, pride of the Vector Empire, had been reduced to glowing debris scattered across space. For several minutes, the entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. But Captain Do Young was not dead. In the final moments before the collision, Arya had performed one last miracle. The ship's AI had ejected the Vengeance's escape pods in a desperate gambit, using the explosion's shockwave to propel them to safety. It was a 1 in a million chance, but somehow it had worked. Do Young awakened in the cramped confines of an escape pod, his body battered and his uniform torn. Around him, the surviving members of his crew were slowly regaining consciousness. Out of 300 brave souls who had begun this journey, only 47 had survived the final battle. Captain Yunji whispered, her voice weak but filled. With wonder, we're alive. We actually survived. Through the pod's small window, Du Young could see the glowing remains of the World Ender, drifting through space. The ship that had terrorized the galaxy for decades was gone, destroyed by a single human vessel that had refused to give up. Arya, he called out, hoping their AI had somehow survived. I am here, Captain, came the familiar voice from the pods. Emergency systems. My main processing core was destroyed with the ship, but I managed to transfer my essential functions to the escape pods before the explosion. Do Young closed his eyes, feeling the weight of everything they had accomplished. They had done the impossible. They had destroyed the Vector Empire's ultimate weapon and proven that humanity would not go quietly into the night. But the real miracle was just beginning. Across the galaxy, on 1,000 different worlds, enslaved species were receiving the same incredible news: the World Ender was destroyed. The ghost ship had done what no one thought possible. The Vector Empire's invincibility was a lie. On the mining world of Kepler 7, where the alien people had labored under Vector rule for 50 years, the aliens gathered in their underground hiding places to listen to the news broadcasts. Citizens of the galaxy, the transmission began. This is Commander Veltar of the Vector Imperial Fleet. I am authorized to announce that the dreadnought World Ender has been destroyed in battle with the human vessel known as the Ghost Ship. The alien elder who had first spoken of hope weeks earlier now stood before his people with tears streaming down his face. Do you hear that, my children? The Ghost Ship has won. The humans have shown us that the Vector can be defeated. Similar scenes were playing out on dozens of worlds. The Catherian bird people, enslaved for 2 centuries, began to sing their ancient songs of freedom. The rock-like Gorians, who had been forced to mine precious metals for the Empire, laid down their tools and walked out of the mines. The aquatic Nereidans, whose ocean worlds had been polluted by Vector factories, began to organize resistance movements. Within days, the rebellion had spread to every corner of the galaxy. The Vector, who had ruled through fear and overwhelming force, found themselves facing something they had never encountered before: a united galaxy fighting for its freedom. The surviving Vector leadership, scattered and demoralized, made a desperate decision. They would attempt to negotiate with the humans, hoping to salvage something from the ruins of their empire. Do Young and his survivors had been rescued by a human cargo ship and transported to the neutral space station of Haven's Rest. The captain was sitting in the station's medical bay, his body healing from the injuries sustained in the final battle. When the Vector delegation arrived, Commander Zekthal, the highest-ranking Vector officer to survive the war, approached Du Young with what his species considered a gesture of respect. The alien commander was tall and imposing, with dark armor that gleamed under the station's lights. Human Captain Zekthal said in accented English, "I am authorized to offer terms of surrender.
Oh?
The Vector Empire acknowledges your victory and requests negotiations for a peaceful resolution to this conflict." Dui Young looked up at the alien commander, his eyes hard as steel. "Surrender? You think this is about surrender? We are prepared to offer you control of several star systems, along with tribute payments." And no, Do Young interrupted. "You don't understand. This isn't about conquest. This is about justice." The human captain stood up, his battle-scarred face showing no mercy. "Here are my terms. Complete withdrawal from all occupied worlds. Immediate release of all enslaved species. Full reparations to every world you've destroyed. And a guarantee that the Vector Empire will never again threaten peaceful civilizations." Zekthal eyes widened. You... You demand our complete withdrawal from the galaxy? I demand that you go back to your own space and learn to live in peace. Doyoung replied. The age of Vector tyranny is over. The negotiations took weeks, but eventually the Vector agreed to the terms. They had no choice. Their fleet was in ruins, their leadership scattered. The entire galaxy was united against them, as the Vector ships began their long journey. Home. Something remarkable happened. The liberated worlds didn't fall into chaos or war. Instead, they began to work together, inspired by the example of the human ship that had saved them all. The Galactic Freedom Alliance was born from this. Cooperation. Representatives from dozens of species came together to form a new government based on mutual respect and shared defense. And at the center of it all was humanity. The species that had shown the galaxy how to fight for freedom, Doyoung found himself appointed as the first Supreme Commander of the Alliance Defense Force, a position he accepted reluctantly. He'd never wanted to be a conqueror or a ruler. He'd simply wanted to protect his people and their values. The emotional moment he had been hoping for came when he received word that survivors from the early Vector attacks had been found in refugee camps scattered across the galaxy. Among them was Hoyan-Wu, the miner from New Seoul, who had lost his family in the first attack. When they met at a reunion ceremony on Earth, both men were changed by their experiences. Hoyan-Wu had spent months in refugee camps, helping other survivors and keeping hope alive. Doyoung had become a legend, but the weight of command had aged him beyond his years. Captain Hoyan-Wu said, embracing the man who had avenged his family, "My wife and daughter. They didn't die for nothing, did they?" Doyoung looked into the eyes of the man whose pain had started this entire journey. "No, my friend. They died as heroes. Their sacrifice gave us the strength to fight back. The galaxy is free because of people like them." The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy, showing the liberated worlds that freedom had been won not by conquest, but by the courage of ordinary people who refused to give up hope. Years later, Doyoung would often stand on the observation deck of his ship, watching the stars and thinking about the journey that had brought them all to this point. The vengeance was gone, along with too many good friends, but their sacrifice had not been in vain. On Earth, children would gather in parks and schools to hear stories about the ghost ship and its brave crew. They would look up at the stars, not with fear but with wonder, knowing that somewhere out, their humanity was standing guard over the galaxy's freedom. The underdog had become the protector. The hunted had become the guardians. And in the vast darkness of space, the light of hope burned brighter than ever before. The age of tyranny was over. The age of freedom had begun, and it all started with one ship, one crew, and one captain, who refused to let evil win. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.